Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Jess and today's video is going to be a chit chat video where I talk to you guys about kind of things I've learned. So if you guys want to have a snack, have a drink as you watch this video isn't pre-planned, so everything that I'm saying is how I feel at present time. This one I'm going to focus on friendships, relationships, and also health. Being 26 has allowed me to learn so much stuff, so much about myself and so much of what I want in my surrounding. So with friendships, I think this is commonly talked about. The one point that we all kind of align with is that the older we get, the smaller our friendship circle gets. And the reason why we say that is because sometimes you just tend to keep the closest around you. Growing up, you would have like 20, 30, 50, 100 friends. But at the end of the day, when you reach this age, you want friendships that kind of align with you, your values, your goals, and also wants the best for you. And that's not easy to find. I'm going to be honest. Not everyone wishes you the best. Not every single person. And this stems from either jealousy or this stems from just, you want what you don't have, and that tends to be one of the reasons. But I have to say, now that I'm 26, I value all those friends that I've kept and have maintained that friendship with until now. And honestly, sometimes you would lose friends along the way just because either they found their own group and they no longer align or no longer put time into your friendship, which is sad. But it's just, you can't take offense to these. When you can't be independent on your own and you have to rely on those friendships, sometimes it's best to just work on yourself than to nag onto that friend who doesn't prioritize you or doesn't put time into you. You guys can have a conversation and be like, hey, you're not really spending much time with me, you're not really reaching out to me much. But I think it's just, if you guys have that respect for each other and have that friendship, it's better to talk about it then. And personally for myself, I'm someone who just rather to be on my own. And I love hanging out with my friends, don't get me wrong. But I value my own me time, my own personal time, just so that I can really think about things I want to do and things I want to focus on. It's really hard if I'm constantly out and about with everyone every single day. I kind of have that social battery that just burns out, and that is just not cute. So things that I would do is that either once a week I hang out with a mate, or every twice a week I hang out with a mate, or just fit in through like a gym session. It doesn't necessarily have to be just brunch, shopping, or whatever. Something that you both can benefit. For example, as you guys know, I love the gym, so we would meet for a gym session, or we'll go for a walk, or just get a coffee for an hour or so. Like, that's still valuable time. You just don't have to always be spending 8 to 10 hours with each other and just do nothing. And I think another thing that I realized is sometimes I'm not the most confrontational person when it comes to things that they do and I'm not a fan of. But as I got older, I think as long as you can openly talk about that and come from a place where you're not expecting them to change, you're just voicing your opinion and coming off in a genuine way, I think that is really important too. Not only in relationships, but in your own friendships. If someone is treating you in a way that you don't appreciate at all whatsoever, please don't be scared to speak up for yourself, because that would only make you a stronger person and also allow the other person to know what they did and what they did wrong, and that, like, what it made you feel. Because at the end of the day, if they're your true friends, they would understand and they would change in certain ways if that's how they made you feel. So if someone said something negative to you, speak up, and if they don't understand or they won't change or they flip the thing back onto you and make you feel bad, then that's a red flag. So that is my take on friendships and how I've maintained the closest friendships in my circle all these years. And I am going to be honest, I am super happy with the small knit of friends that I have. I feel as though, because I'm someone who's very low maintenance and I don't expect to meet up every single week or every 2 weeks. Some friends I catch up every 1 month, or I would meet a friend who lives 5 minutes away from me over coffee, and that's I'm more than happy with that. So it just depends on what type of person you are. If you get to a point where you feel forced and pressured and you don't feel happy hanging out with certain people, then that's the time when you reflect and see what you value in that friendship, and is it worthy for you to putting time and effort into it. All right, so now we're going to jump into relationship. I feel as though this is something that I have learned a lot in my relationship, and I thought I'd share with you guys because I know in my TikTok lives I get asked a lot in regards to like relationship. I said in my last vlog that I am now single, and I got out of I don't know if the word I got out of a 6-year relationship sounds right, but it's not a bad relationship. It didn't end on bad terms. It was just mutual, and yeah, that's all I can say. Pretty much 6 years. I have to say, I learned so much in this relationship, and I know that in my next one, or whenever that next one's gonna happen, I would definitely go into with a lot more of understanding. And also I feel as though with a relationship, communication, as many people say, is important, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it honestly is really important. And I feel as though my communication style in the beginning of my relationship, first I'd say like a year and a half, was like not it. Like, I'm someone who would just hold in my feelings and my thoughts, and I don't really express it, which is similar to like in my past friendship groups. I think the one thing that I valued was that we never really got out of the honeymoon phase all the time, like always thinking about each other, always doing things for each other, putting them in your priority. That actually allows you to feel as though time doesn't actually feel that long. So for the whole 6 years, it actually didn't feel like 6 years. Every single year of our anniversary will be like, oh wow, it's already our 4th, it's already our 5th. Oh my gosh, 6th? So when you always put the other person in and make them feel loved, I feel as though that can conquer a lot of problems that arise. And yes, it does sound like, oh my gosh, that's so easy, but it also comes with understanding. I think when you have these communications, or when you have those chats, being able to understand their feelings and being able to validate their feelings is so important, just so that they know, hey, they can actually hear what I'm saying. They know what I'm saying to them, rather than disregarding their feelings and making them feel invalidated. And I would never recommend anyone to do that to their partner. If they're willing to speak up and open up about things that they're being bothered by, it means it's been weighing on their shoulders for so long. And for chicks, they don't really speak up until it's really bothered them, and after they've thought about it for like months or weeks or even days. I think that's something that, you know, is not really spoken about, and guys would tend to be like, oh my god, why is she so dramatic? Why is she bringing this up now? But as a reminder, girls don't really talk about it unless it's like bothered them for so long. And not to say that this is guys' fault. There's no one's fault in this situation. When you're in a relationship, you're a team. You want to be able to just conquer the problem rather than fighting each other. Because at the end of the day, it's not you against each other, it's you against the problem. And as cliche as that sounds, but I truly feel as though that helped me in my relationship, and just being able to conquer every single problem that has ever arisen. And another thing is that I know in some relationships, you feel as though this person is being treated like this, and that's something I want. But I think at the end of the day, if you have your 3 things, your 3 qualities or 3 characteristics that you want in a man, and you have that in your man, I think it's important for you to be reminded that yes, that is how that person is being spoiled. But you don't really know what's happening behind the doors. You could wish that happened to you and ask your man for it. And if you communicate that to them and they're not willing to do that, then I think you should either think about, is that enough for me to not continue this relationship? Or can you compromise and understand that he's not that type of person and just move on with the relationship? I think the only time I would really question whether I want to continue this relationship is when they no longer maintain those 3 qualities that you said from the get-go. For example, if my top 3 qualities are acts of service, family oriented, and caring. If those are the 3 things that I said in this relationship that I need this man to have, and they can't do it, that's the time when I would reconsider if that relationship is right for me. Because there are other things where you can compromise and come to middle ground for. It's bound to be a reoccurring thing. But what you need to realize is that as long as they can try to compromise and you can try to compromise and come to middle ground, that would take your relationship so far, because you're not trying to be stubborn and like make them want to do something they don't want to do. It's about being able to, understand each other and make sure that you guys can, at the end of the day, do something together, because that's the goal, right? And obviously, as easy as that sounds, it shouldn't really be that hard. I feel as though a relationship is hard when you make it really complicated. I feel as though with anything in life, it's how you approach it. It doesn't always have to be that complicated. I think you can just find a middle ground, what works for you guys in solving a problem. That honestly takes you so far in a relationship. And sometimes, a lot of times, you just get to a stage where you don't even have to argue, because the both of you understand each other so well, to the point where it's literally like, if I do this, she's gonna go ape shit, or if he does this, we'll know that he's wrong and he will just solve it. So I genuinely think that relationship is hard when you make it hard. And not to say that a relationship is easy either, which is why there are some people who would literally break up. People go through divorce. Disregarding like all the cheating and all that stuff, like the things that you shouldn't do in a relationship, but just for the basics, I feel as though if either party stops putting in the effort, when either party stops caring, and it's been a constant thing, and you've spoken about it, and they can't seem to come around and fix those things, those are the times when, yes, you need to think about whether I need to continue this relationship or move on. There may be still love, but if there's no effort being put into a relationship, if everything just becomes mundane and every day's the same, it's really time to think about, if is this what I want? Like everyone's different. Everyone has different priorities. If you guys have any relationship questions that you want to ask, make sure to comment down below, and I'm more than happy to answer it or to help you out, because it's not really easy to open up to your friends about your relationship problem just because they're not in your shoes. And I'm not trying to say that I never ask my friends or tell my friends my relationship problems, but I think what I've realized after years is that the only person who can truly solve these relationship problems are the 2 people that are dating, because they truly know what is going on and all that stuff. And depending what type of friends you have, they either may be understanding or they may not know what the heck you're talking about. And those are very, very valid. So I'm just going to jump into health, and this is a reminder that no matter how old you are, fitness should always be a priority. And I said that and I mean that. And this is something I'm going to hold myself to. No matter what age, what stage of life I am in, I will always prioritize my health, my fitness, and I will never, ever let it slide. Why do I say that? And I'm not trying to brainwash anyone, whatever, but I truly feel as though, and I was having this conversation with my brother, and we were in the car coming back from a dinner. We were just saying how some celebrities, they look so good when they're 50 or 60. But we definitely noticed that there's a common factor, which is the people who stay active, people who are very health conscious, or people who just prioritize their health. They actually age very well. And not just because it's nutrition, but staying active for your bones, for your muscles, everything actually is much harder when you get older to maintain that muscle and your bones. Saw on Instagram, and I definitely agree to that. And we definitely agree that there's only so much you can do with plastic surgery. But at the end of the day, when you prioritize your health, it's so noticeable, and it's actually insane, because if you were to tell me 5 years ago that I would need to stay consistent with my fitness or with nutrition, all of that, I'm like, no, why would I? I'm young. But you need that foundation. You need that baseline to help you. Because yes, gymming may not seem easy, but it's not super hard. as long as you get the foundation right, you get your form right, it actually isn't hard. Like I feel like it only took me 2 years to learn the techniques, how a gym works, what machines for what. And that's just because for me, I stay consistent for, I think for like 3 years actually. But for the gym, 2 years. Because I wouldn't really count 2020 because I was like COVID and stuff. I didn't really gym then. And pre-COVID, when I went to gym on my own, I wouldn't say I was the most knowledgeable because I kind of just did like the basic stuff, which it didn't really do anything for me. Like I wasn't trying to, like I didn't add weight every single week. I didn't even lose weight. I didn't even gain muscle. Like I don't know what the heck I was doing, but I knew I was doing a lot of cardio. I know back then I was like doing like 20 minutes on the treadmill to even an hour on the treadmill. And that was when I kind of just felt like my physique was mediocre. But now that I've been more consistent and I've prioritized my nutrition and my fitness, being active, I noticed a difference in my physique and it's really rewarding. I'm not going to lie to you. It did take a lot of energy and motivation to even go to the gym. On certain days, I really dreaded going to the gym. On days where it's like super gloomy, super hot, rainy, just everything, sometimes it's really hard to go to the gym, but I feel as though I'll just smash some pre-workout and then I'll be like, if I don't go today, I'm never going to go. If I don't go today, my muscle... I just kind of gaslight myself into going to the gym. But at the end of the day, I come back and I'm like, I loved it. I'm glad I went. And I did hear that it's harder to grow muscles when you get older. Your bones get weaker as you get older. So I would definitely prioritize my strength training leading up to those old ages. So never take your health for granted. I have definitely gone through a lot of random hiccups in health where I was definitely like a bit demotivated to go back to the gym, especially, for example, one time I was playing netball and I don't remember if I fractured my ankle or something like that, and I had to be in like a moon boot for about, I'll say like a month and a half. I think so from memory. And those month and a half I couldn't drive. Going everywhere, I have to lug the moon boot. Every time I went out, it was just like, it's just not the same compared to obviously when you didn't have the moon boot. So I think it was that reality check that you get reminded every time you get a health scare. And you just really never know what the next thing is going to happen to you. Not to always think about that, but I think it should be like a reality check. I think that's the best way I can say it. If you don't have these stuff, you just can't take your health for granted. And then when shit hits the fan, you're kind of like, oh shit, I feel like I didn't live my life to the fullest. I wish I went to the gym more. All of that. Like you do have those thought process that does come in your mind. Alright, so that is the end of this video. Make sure to like this video, share it if you want to for friends or for family who are going through certain things. And make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you want to get notified whenever I post. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!